Hey everyone and welcome. Today, we're going to dig into a piece of audio that, and this is no exaggeration, pretty much launched the entire personal development industry. See, back in 1956, a radio host named Earl Nightingale recorded a message for his sales team. He called it The Strangest Secret, and it took off. It became the first spoken word record to sell over 1 million copies, earning a gold record. So what was this secret? What did he say that hit home with so many people? All right, let's get into it.
So, Nightingale starts things off with a real bombshell of a quote from the brilliant physician and Nobel Prize winner Albert Schweitzer. A reporter once asked him, "Doctor, what's wrong with men today?" And his answer was just 4 words: "Men simply don't think." Now, that's a pretty provocative thing to say, right? He obviously didn't mean we're all walking around brain dead. He meant that very few of us actually use our minds to think deliberately, to choose a path, and create the life we say we want.
And this is where that idea gets grounded in some cold, hard numbers. Nightingale asks us to imagine 100 people, all starting out at age 25. You know the vibe, they're full of dreams, they're ambitious, they're all going to be successful. Okay, now let's fast forward 40 years. They're all 65. What happened? Well, the stats say only one of them will be rich. Only 4 more will be financially independent. And the other 95? They're either broke, depending on someone else, or still working because they have to. So why? What happened to all that promise? That's the mystery he wanted to solve.
So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll tackle the 5% question. Then, the main event, the strangest secret revealed. After that, we'll look at the wisdom of the ages to see how this idea pops up everywhere. Then we'll get real with a complicated reality, and we'll wrap it all up with an actionable plan, the 30-day challenge.
Okay, so let's start with that big question. Why is there such a huge gap between what people hope for and what they actually get? What really separates that successful 5% from the other 95? Nightingale noticed it wasn't intelligence. He knew plenty of brilliant people who were failures. And it wasn't just luck or talent either. He believed it was something much more fundamental, something every single one of us has complete control over. But before we find the answer, we have to know what we're talking about. What even is success? And Nightingale's definition here is a game changer. For him, it's the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Let that sink in. Progressive realization. That means success isn't some finish line you cross. It's the journey itself. So the teacher who loves shaping young minds, she's a success. The person building their dream company from the ground up, a success. The parent raising a family, they're a success too. As long as you are deliberately moving toward a goal you set for yourself, you are succeeding.
All right, so what's the key? What's the tool that lets someone do that to progressively realize their ideal? Well, Nightingale spent years digging through the works of the greatest thinkers in history, and he found something pretty amazing. He realized that all the great teachers, philosophers, and prophets, people who disagreed on pretty much everything else, were in total agreement on one single point.
Just think about that for a second. We're talking thousands of years, different cultures, different languages, different beliefs. What's the one golden thread that connects all of them? What's the one principle for a good life that they all kept coming back to?
This is it. This is the strangest secret. We become what we think about. I'm going to say it again because this is the whole thing right here. We become what we think about. The person who's constantly thinking about a specific, worthwhile goal, they're going to reach it. And the person whose mind is just a storm of fear and confusion, well, their life is going to look just like that. Your thoughts aren't just little things happening in your head. They are the architects of your reality.
Now, you might be thinking, come on, it sounds a little too simple, doesn't it? And that's fair. But what Nightingale did so brilliantly was show that this wasn't just his opinion. It's a universal law that's been passed down for centuries, basically hiding in plain sight.
I mean, we can go all the way back to the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men to ever live. And even he knew that his real power wasn't his armies, it was his mind. He wrote, "A man's life is what his thoughts make of it. It's not what happens to you, it's what you think about what happens to you."
And let's jump forward a few centuries to the American writer Ralph Waldo Emerson. He said the exact same thing, just a little differently. A man is what he thinks about all day long. He's pointing out that it's not just one passing thought. It's the dominant ideas we allow to live in our minds that shape who we are.
And then we get to the modern era with William James, the father of American psychology. He called this the single greatest discovery of his time. Think about that. Not the car, not the light bulb, but the scientific fact that we can literally change our lives by changing our minds. This isn't just fluffy self-help talk. This is a core principle of how our brains work.
So how does this actually play out in real life? Nightingale gives us this perfect metaphor. Imagine a ship leaving a harbor. It's got a captain, a crew, and a destination charted on a map. You know, unless there's a total catastrophe, that ship is going to get where it's going 999 times out of 10,000. And why? Simple. It has a destination. It has direction.
And our minds work the exact same way. A person with a clear, specific goal, they're the captain of their ship. They can navigate through storms because they know where they're headed. But a person without a goal, they're like a ship with no captain and no destination. They're just adrift, pushed around by every wind and wave, and they'll probably end up crashing on some random shore. That goal is everything. It's the guidance system for your life.
Okay, but at this point you might be thinking, all right, I get it, but it can't be that simple, right? I mean, if all you had to do was think about a goal, wouldn't way more people be successful? And you know what? That's a totally fair and really important question. To really get this idea, we have to add some real-world perspective.
And that's really the crucial question, isn't it? Is mindset the only thing that matters? Are we just supposed to pretend that real-world problems and disadvantages don't exist?
And the honest answer is, of course not. Mindset isn't the only thing. Where you start in life, your socioeconomic background, your access to education and resources, all of that stuff is obviously a huge deal. But acknowledging that doesn't make the secret any less powerful. It just puts it in context. The secret is about taking control of the one thing you can always control, your own mind, to best navigate the world you're in. It's about agency, not fantasy.
So, with all that said, understanding the power of this idea but also its real-world context, Nightingale doesn't just leave us with the theory. He gives us a practical experiment to prove it to ourselves. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's his famous 30-day challenge.
Okay, here's the plan, and it's super simple. Step 1, write down one single definite goal on a card. Just one. Be specific. Step 2, carry that card with you everywhere. Step 3, look at it when you wake up, before you go to sleep, and a few times during the day. And step 4, this is the toughest one. Every time a fear or negative thought pops into your head, you have to consciously replace it with the positive image of your goal. You have to be the guard at the gate of your mind for 30 days.
And to help with that, Nightingale also gives us these 6 steps from a psychiatrist, Dr. David Harold Fink. They're like a little toolkit for the challenge. You can see how they all work together. Set that goal. Stop the negative self-talk. Think about all the reasons you can succeed. Try to understand where your doubts came from in the first place. And then write down a description of the person you want to become. And start acting like that person right now. It's not about being fake. It's about making your actions match your ambition.
In the end, it really all comes down to this. Your mind is like a garden. It's fertile soil. It doesn't care what you plant. It'll grow poison just as easily as it'll grow corn. It just grows whatever seed you give it. The challenge is to spend 30 days consciously planting the seeds of what you want and pulling out the weeds of what you don't. And like Nightingale says, you have absolutely nothing to lose by trying this, but you have a whole life to win. So the only real question left is, what are you going to write on your card?